Grace and peace to you. As we ready ourselves to resume in-person worship this Sunday, I know that gathering together won't look the same as it did pre-pandemic. So I wanted to take a few minutes and just walk through some of the steps that we have in place now as we look to resume in-person worship. So when you arrive at church, you can enter through any one of the doors. If the weather's nice, we're going to try and have those propped open to keep people touching the doors to a bare minimum. When you walk in, there will be a sign-in table at each of the entrances. If you enter down the far aisle, down the hallway, the table is actually right here in the gathering space when you get down here. But there's a sign-in sheet, so please, when you enter, sign in. There are clean pens that will be here in the cups. After you sign in, you may place them in the used pens basket. And then at each station, there's also hand sanitizer to use after you have signed in. A reminder, masks are required for everyone entering for worship. And when we say masks, I'm only being slightly funny on this, but I've seen all of these. So when we say that masks are required, this is not good enough. The chin strap wearage is not going to cut it. We can't even leave our nose exposed because that still allows the virus to spread if we were to sneeze or something like that. So we all need to be wearing masks, and we need to wear them properly, please. So as you arrive for worship, please do wear your mask. Have it up over your nose and completely covered for the duration of your time here at worship. Restrooms will be open. Try to make the use of the restrooms here at a minimum. We know that, as odd as it may seem, the flushing of toilets is one way that the virus can spread. So we're going to limit the use of the restrooms to one person at a time. Other than like a parent can take in their kid, that's fine. Family units are fine. But just try to knock before you go in, and if there's anybody in there, just wait until they come out to use the restroom. So then after you have entered and signed in, bulletins are going to be laid out on these side tables. Please take your own bulletin. Hand sanitizer again after you pick up that bulletin. We will not be taking an offering during the service, so if you have offering to give, you can place it in the offering plates that are located out here. We do it the same way that we do it for like any of our midweek Lents or midweek Advents. And then immediately please go in and find your seat. When you come in to take your seat in the pews, you'll notice that every other pew is roped off with these blue ropes, so those pews are off limits. What you would do is you take a seat in any open pew. Please only sit on the ends. We have figured out that the length of the pews only allows us to put people on either end. So if you enter from, don't walk across the pew. If you enter from this side, sit on this end. If we have two single people that come in, we can do one on each end. Families, of course, can sit together. So if a family takes up a whole pew, that's great. But please just enter from either side and sit on the ends of each open pews. And yes, some of you may actually have to sit closer to the front than you normally do. It will be okay? You will still be just as Lutheran, I promise. You'll also notice that there are, if you can see in the video, there's blue lines marking down the aisles. We won't need these necessarily for this week, but these are marked for when we do eventually do communion. As you come forward, there'll be side stations on either side. I'll have more information about that, and we'll go over that a little bit more in detail next week. But as you come forward, the lines on the floor give you spacing so that you know how far away you need to be from everyone. As I lead worship, I will do pretty much all of leading worship from behind the altar so that I can keep an appropriate distance from everyone during the service. I think one of the hardest things for us to get used to will be that there will be no congregational singing during the service. Science tells us that the force that we use when we sing, it just spreads the virus too easily, even with masks. So I will be leading the songs from way back here, and if you would like, feel free to hum along or say the words softly under your breath, but please no outright congregational singing, because we don't want to take the risk of us being sick and accidentally spreading it to someone else. Now, guys, I know that all of this seems like a lot, and it is. It absolutely is. And we're not going to get all of it right, and it's not always going to go perfectly. So as we gather together again for worship, I just ask that, as we move forward, we may need to modify things, we may need to do things a little differently if we find that something isn't working. I just ask everyone to please have some grace for us as we try to figure out the best way to protect one another and to love one another through this. But I am very much looking forward to seeing everyone on Sunday. Blessings.